Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. This session focuses on the strengths of grammar translation method. I hope and expect by the end of this session you would know what are the strengths of GTM. Well, my dear students, generally speaking, despite the regular use of grammar translation method in Pakistan, and despite the frequent practices of implementing it in the classrooms in Pakistan, when it comes to comment on grammar translation method, most of the times we criticize it and we point out its weaknesses and we point out its flaws, and we blame the use of this method as one of the major causes of inadequacy in the use of language skills of the learners of English language. When it comes to the main goals of grammar translation method, actually there are two main goals. One is to develop students' reading ability to a level where they can read literature in the target language. And the second is that the GTM method, the grammar translation method, it develops students' general mental discipline. Now, when we look at these two objectives, if these are the objectives, if we look at the first objective, that is to enable them to read literature in the target language, I would say, despite all its weaknesses, despite all its flaws, it has the strength that it enables the students, it prepares the students to read literary texts. Our students in the classroom, they can read the stories in English language, they can read poems in English language, and they're able to understand that literature, generally speaking, to some extent. And as far as the second objective is concerned, to develop students' general mental discipline, yes, because grammar translation method rigorously follows the rules, application of rules, comparing and contrasting the structures, matching the structures of L1 with L2, and deducing certain rules that are applied in that regard. So it gives a kind of general mental training to the students. It adds a kind of discipline to them, where they know the rules, where they try to understand the rules, and where they abide by the rules as well. The users of foreign language wanted simply to note things of their interest in the literature of foreign languages. This was the case if we look back at the history. Therefore, this method focuses on reading and writing and has developed techniques which facilitate more or less the learning of reading and writing only. Before the First and the Second World War, if we go to the times of the Greek and Latin languages and then the emergence of English, these were the times, when people were more interested in the literature of foreign languages. So the grammar translation method, I would say, has a strength that it suited the needs of those times. It enabled people, it prepared people to read literature of those times and to, of course, write with reference to that as well. So to conclude, what I would say is, when it comes to the strengths of grammar translation method, forming good academic knowledge of the target language is one of the goals of grammar translation method, and this is what makes it its strength. Secondly, training grammar accuracy. If you look at the language use and usage of the learners or of the children in today's Pakistan, I hope you would agree with this, that a lot of them would use English language with some lack of accuracy, and though they would be fluent, they would not be accurate. Whereas, as compared to them, the old school trained people, the people from the older generation who were trained through grammar translation method, they have more accuracy of language because they learned it through rules. Another strength of grammar translation method is that it develops students' memory. Since they have to cram the rules, since they have to match the rules, since they have to move backward and forward in L2 and L1. This helps them develop their memorizing skills as well. So grammar translation method, despite its weaknesses, has its own strengths.